Hello there, I'm Sconchulus, and this is Teppen Deck Tech, where I present to you decks that are fun, strong, or interesting. Today we are playing Wesker's Bringer of Nightmares once again, but this time we are taking a shot at a much more meta build for the deck. Still, even without any major gimmicks, there is one big difference between mine and the typical revenge deck. That being that we are not playing zombie, instead opting for a much smaller revenge count. That way we can always pull our strongest units and know exactly what they will be. Getting right into the card by card, we have the most important card in our deck, Gate. If we can open Gate and a 6 MP unit, it is worth waiting as long as necessary to block with Gate. The early momentum we can get off this play and immediately searching the same 6-drop is enough to win most of our games. Next we have Tenkai, our most important 6-drop. Tenkai deals 3 damage on summon, healing our hero the same amount. Over the course of a game, this card will gain us so much life that we are never really out of the game. Tenkai is also great for dealing with powerful cards like Strider that give most decks trouble. Next we have Wesker, one of our most versatile cards. Wesker is an excellent early card with Gate, as well as for putting on pressure for damage or ascends. We only play 2 because we will still play him up to 4 times a game, and we need a lane open for Wesker to get value off him. Our last 6-drop is our most powerful by far, Black Crown Marudo Munto. This card is loaded with powerful effects, growing stronger every attack, which will let him shred through any board doing massive damage. But realistically, most decks can beat this card with a few blocks. So why is this deck a better win con than all our other revenge units? All we have to do is give revenge to them, which we plan to do using Gathering Evil. I always want to save this for Marudo Munto to make them a 4/14, but it's a great card anytime our opponent targets something with an action. Other than Marudo, using this card on Gate or Akuma is especially powerful. Speaking of which, we are playing 2 Akuma, who is simply too powerful not to play, and our last units are Demon King Oda Nobunaga, who can hit insane numbers if we cycle him with Gathering Evil, Civilization Rebel Sigma, who is a massive power card, far before he hits Infinite Revenge, TO2 Titan, who becomes a 1 MP 5/10, and Dynamo. I got this tech from the Dark Destruction lists I was seeing last season. It might seem odd, but this card overperforms every time I play it. It always wins a trade and then either 2-for-1s, gets in for direct, or sets you up for an ascend. And he's really cool. Dynamo is also another perfect for Gathering Evil, as well as for our next card, High Altitude Attack. This card costs 2 life and gives a unit in hand +1/+1 and rush. This card lets us demand answers from our opponent when we want to, and is especially strong to close out games. Even Marudo Munto, who already has rush, gets a lot from the +1/+1. I don't think the second effect has ever come up, but the card is also activatable at any time to unbrick our hand. Just like our next card, Incense of Doom, which is mostly used the same way to unbrick us, but is also a strong tech against other Wesker players, as well as a surprising number of other decks. We also have 2 Selfish Predation. Tenkai gives us so much health, a 3rd one is never necessary. 2 Assassination Lists to let us beat Slurple and the Mirror Match, as well as Bolt Reaver's Valor. Even without the memory effect, Bolt Reaver can be a huge play for 2 MP, and with memory becomes a surprise win con. Last of all, we have our legendary Destroys, Dreadful Business, and Sharing Memories, and finally, Curse Extraction. This deck can charge Curse even faster than Oichi, and is the only other deck that can efficiently set it up. It's not quite as oppressive as in Oichi Despair, but Curse Extraction is a perfect way to close out our games. Here's the deck QR for you, and with all that said, let's get into it. Game 1, we are up against Met's Shoryuken. This deck has gotten more and more popular into the season as it became clear just how good its matchups are. We start out with one of our strongest cards, which could actually backfire against Shoryuken. Our opponent starts out with Amaterasu, which we can thankfully one-shot with our Marudo Munto. They follow that up with Hiryu Strider, which we can take out using Dreadful Business. They do search one action with their Strider, but that's all they get before we defeat it. We'll get in for 3 damage, our Muradumunto going up to 3 attack, and we will play down a Sigma to pressure their other lane. Muradumunto goes up to 4 attack, and on the next attack he goes up to 5, which means he will only do 1 attack to their Shimazu. They will use combo on him, allowing them to completely wipe our field, doing 8 direct in the process. We will play Tenkai, which will do 3, and then another 3 to take care of their Shimazu. Before both units are destroyed, our opponent activates Friendly Feud, gaining 2 attack, letting them get in for 12 direct. Our Tenkai is destroyed, but we can search them right back to our hand with Bringer of Nightmare. Our opponent plays Wendy Oldbag to gain evidence, and we will play Tenkai in front of them, dealing 3. Our opponent plays Rathalos and uses Shoryuken on them, giving them combo, which will allow them to get in for 4 direct, dealing the same amount to the Wesker that summons from our other Wesker. We will search Sigma to our hand and play them in front of Rathalos. Our Tenkai is down to 1 HP, which will be destroyed by their Rathalos. Our Sigma destroys their Rathalos. We are down to 1 HP. We have turned things around somewhat, but they will be able to block all of our attacks at the moment with their blue badgers. We will ascend Sigma over our Wesker. Even with our comeback on the horizon, our opponent still has a few plays left in them. They'll activate contact with the Divine to seal their blue badger and do 7 damage. But we can deny that using Assassination List. They respond with Arms of the Conqueror, which will destroy our Sigma, but that just allows us to destroy him ourselves and heal back to 8 HP. We bring them down to 3, and our Wesker will get in with the last attack, allowing us to take the comeback. Game 2, we are up against Awoken. This is one of the best decks in Teppen for taking the game off a single mistake. Let's hope we don't mess up. We'll let our opponent start things off with Hear You Strider, which we thankfully have a good answer to in the form of Dynamo. We'll play that down, bringing Strider down to 3 HP, and they will activate Option A to protect Strider and do 3 damage to Dynamo. Dynamo is down to 4 HP, which puts him just in range of using Doll's Memories as removal. That will give us the chance to use Gathering Evil to put Dynamo back in our deck, denying the removal. We'll play Gate in front of Strider to hopefully defeat him that way, and our opponent will use Option C to defeat our Gate. Gate is destroyed and Strider flies in for a bit of damage, searching another action, and we finally have a good answer for him with Tenkai. Strider is removed from the field, and we will draw the Dynamo that we put back in our deck. We will play him in front of Ieyasu and activate Incense of Doom to get rid of their last Strider action. They will use it a bit prematurely on Ieyasu, and we will do a bit of damage to them with Dynamo. Our opponent will use Blade Shattering Defense to bring their Ieyasu back up to good health, and we will use that opportunity to put Tenkai back in the deck with Gathering Evil. We'll draw him right away with Bringer of Nightmares, giving ourselves a powerful unit whenever we need it, and they will play Larry Butts, bringing him up to 110. We will use Assassination List at the earliest opportunity, and our opponent will use Inborn Powers to gain 1 MP. We will use Incense of Doom to cycle 1 card, and our opponent finally has 22 AP for Awoken. This heavily incentivizes us to wait so that we can potentially put a stop to any game-winning plays they attempt. They will play Dan Hibiki as well as Jake Muller, and we will play Tyrant in front of Dan, which they use Awokens on. That destroys our Tyrant, and we will play Tenkai, doing 3 damage to Dan. Our opponent uses Bombast, which allows us to use High Altitude Attack, giving +1/+1 to Tenkai, and we will search to our hand the Tyrant they had destroyed. Our opponent will use Inborn Powers to protect their Dan at the last second. Thankfully, we have one more way to defeat Dan, but they have another way to protect him with another Inborn Powers. That allows us to use another High Altitude Attack, but they have another Wall Jump, which they can use to protect Dan one more time. We'll play Tyrant in the top lane, destroying Jake Muller, and our opponent will play Kami, destroying our Tenkai. We are down to 1 HP, and our opponent is down to 2. We have a heal to bring ourselves back to 8 HP, but our opponent can buff Kami to 7 attack, bringing us right back down to 1. We have another chance with Bringer of Nightmares to search ourselves Tenkai. We can play that to heal to 4. Our opponent plays Jake Muller, and Awokens will be enough to defeat us. But we have one more heal, which will let us get in with Tenkai unless they defeat us with mortal enemies, destroying both of our units, giving us nothing to stop Jake Muller from doing the 4 damage, taking Game 2. Game 3, we are up against another one of our most difficult matchups, Amaterasu Great Divine Intervention. Hopefully we'll be able to play our cards right. We start out with one of our best opening hands, as does our opponent, starting things off with Hiryu Strider. We have a couple ways to deal with him in the form of Tenkai and Gate. Our opponent will activate option B, giving agility to Strider, and we will respond to that with Incense of Doom, sniping off their other Strider action. We'll play Gate in front of Strider and level them up using Tenkai. Our opponent activates Chain of Fists, doing 2 damage to Gate, and we will do 6 damage to Strider. Our opponent activates option C, doing 3 damage to Gate, and will respond with Dreadful Business so they don't get any more Strider actions. Our opponent activates Announcement Poster, doing 2 damage to Tenkai, and we get in for 6 and 3 damage, Gate destroying himself in the process. Our opponent will block with Shiva Alomar, destroying Tenkai, but we can search them right back to our hand with our hero art. We'll play Sigma down in the top lane to keep ourselves charging MP. Our opponent is well below GDI, so we should be fine at the moment. They will activate Sun Goddess, and Sigma will get in for a bit of damage. Our opponent will quickly play Gate and Lucia, doing enough damage to put Sigma below Great Divine Intervention, which they use to destroy him, removing him from the game. We are off one of our best power plays. They will play Shiva Alomar, and we will play Gate as well as Tenkai, searching ourselves another Tenkai to our hand. They will block that with Great Rogi, which our Tenkai will be able to defeat efficiently. We'll get in for 5 damage, and they will play Miles Edgeworth, destroying our Tenkai. We will play Gate, leveling them up using our Muradomunto. We have now used all 3 of our Gates, and we will play Albert Wesker, getting another Wesker on the field, so they have to block all 3 lanes. Our opponent is now down to 2 damage, but they can block with Amaterasu as well as Guy. But we can remove the Amaterasu with Assassinationless. They return it to their EX pocket, but it's unlikely they'll have anything else to block. They use GDI to remove 2 of our units and get in with Announcement Poster to destroy Amaredo Munto. We use High Altitude Attack, and they respond with Agent's Memories, which lets us use another High Altitude Attack to give 2 units in our hand rush. Now we just need to time it right. I get a bit overexcited, mistiming it, but with the other one, I'm able to block both lanes, getting in for a perfectly executed Game 3. I feel so good about that last one that we're going for a Game 4 against Jill Ultimate Weapon. Hopefully we do just as well as we did in the first and third games. We opened just as well as we did in the last game with Gate, Tenkai, as well as our best legendary, which we will play when we get to 10 MP. Our opponent will activate Sneak Attack when they get to 10, doing 2 damage to us, and they will follow that up with Calamitous Eruption, doing 3 damage to Sigma. Then they will activate Chain of Fists, finally defeating Sigma, leaving it on us to be the aggressor in this match. We will play Gate as well as Tenkai, getting a 6 and 3 attack unit on the field. Our opponent will use Announcement Poster to do a bit of damage to Gate, and we will search to our hand the Sigma that we put back in our deck. We have 3 units on the field, and our opponent has nothing better to do than shoot for face. They will activate Announcement Poster, randomly doing damage to Gate, who gets in for 6 direct. They will use Sneak Attack to do 2 more direct to us, but they're going to have to start dealing with our units or they will have no shot. They will use Rocket Launcher on our Tenkai, but we can deny that with Gathering Evil. Tenkai is back in the deck, and Sigma gets in for 5. We'll play Albert Wesker to fill our field back up to 3 units. This would have probably been the better time for a Rocket Launcher, but they're able to get another one using Ida. And they will use that targeting our Sigma, which we are able to respond to with the most versatile black card, Dreadful Business, which will redisperse Sigma's HP to our Weskers, denying the rocket one last time. And when we search our Sigma, playing him down, our opponent will have no choice but to surrender, letting us take a clean Game 4. Here we are again, and this has got to be the strongest deck I have shown off on this series yet. Yeah, it definitely is. I know it's not a big achievement for everybody, but I did successfully crack top 1000 with this deck. I'm at about 1850 right now, so anybody who needs a last minute deck to grind some rank with, this is the perfect choice. I would definitely recommend playing the deck now, however, because it's going to lose a good amount of its power to the next rotation. Gate and Sigma leaving is a huge hit to the deck and will take some serious restructuring to keep it at a similar power level. As far as matchups go, this deck goes even with every good red deck, which I think I've proven here today. Even our hardest matchups like shoryuken, awokens, and GDI are still manageable if you have a good starting hand. Green has more than a little bit of trouble keeping up with our stats and repeatability, and other black decks we easily outpace, especially Despair, which we are able to charge Curse Extraction even faster than. Purple is probably the color that gives us the most trouble, having the best ways to deal with our revenge units, as well as still being the best deck for the format. I would recommend the deck to anybody who likes a consistent, repeatable game plan, as well as any Wesker fans. As for the next episode, let me know down below whether you would rather see Nergigante Spike Launch or some kind of X deck with the support from the new set. Please like the video if you liked the video, subscribe if you subscribed. Once again, I'm Sconchulus, and I will see you in the next one.